Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you, so let's begin. My name is Ryan, and for 8 years, I believed I had a solid, committed marriage with my wife, Emily. We weren't perfect, but we had built a life together, one that I thought was based on love, respect, and trust. In the early years, things were great. Emily was affectionate, always full of life, and we had fun together. I was proud to call her my wife. But lately, things have changed slowly, and without me realizing it, she has become distant. It started with less talking and fewer moments where she genuinely seemed present. Then, the excuses began. She would come home late, night after night, saying work had been overwhelming. She was too stressed and too drained to spend time with me, especially when it came to intimacy. I understood that work could be demanding, so I didn't pressure her. I didn't push. Instead, I tried to be the kind of husband who supports his wife through tough times. I stepped up where I could. I handled more of the chores around the house, even when I was exhausted from work myself. If she needed space, I gave it to her. If she needed to rest, I let her rest. But no matter how much I did to support her, I was slowly becoming invisible in my marriage. I remember the first time I truly felt something was off. It was supposed to be a simple date night, just dinner at our favorite restaurant. We hadn't been out together in a long time, and I was looking forward to it. But that evening, just as I was getting ready, Emily called and said she couldn't make it. She sounded exhausted, frustrated, and rushed. Something came up at work, she said, apologizing but not sounding sorry. I have to stay late. At first, I didn't think much of it. Work emergencies happen, right? Deadlines, last-minute meetings, all that stress. I told myself to be understanding. But as I sat there alone, staring at the dinner reservations I had made, something gnawed at me. A quick excuse and a brush-off didn't cut it for me that night. I tried calling her a few hours later, just to check in and know how it is going. No answer. I texted. Nothing. I waited. Nothing. I kept telling myself that I was just being paranoid, that I didn't want to be that guy, the insecure husband who jumped to conclusions. But deep down, something felt wrong. I just didn't know what it was yet. It was nearly midnight when she finally walked through the door. I was sitting on the couch, pretending to scroll through my phone, trying not to look as anxious as I felt. The moment she saw me, she let out a tired sigh and said, "I'm so sorry, babe. Work was insane tonight. I promise I'll make it up to you." She came over, kissed my forehead, and before I could even process my emotions, she disappeared into the bathroom. The shower turned on, and I just sat there, staring at the closed door, feeling hollow. I called out, "Are you hungry? I can make you something real quick." She responded from the shower, "No, it's too late to eat anything." I let it go. I acted normal, even though I didn't feel normal inside. The next day, as I sat in my car, before heading to work, I remembered an old connection, one of my wife's work friends, someone who had attended our wedding and works in HR. We weren't close, but we'd had small conversations here and there over the years. I figured that if Emily really was drowning in work, this friend might know about it. Maybe she could help me understand what was going on. I picked up my phone and dialed her number, keeping my tone light and casual. "Hey, I was wondering, would it be possible for you to help Emily get off work early today? Maybe just an hour or two." There was a brief pause on the other end before she answered, sounding genuinely confused. "What do you mean? Emily leaves at 4 p.m. every day." At that moment, my stomach dropped. I could feel my heartbeat in my ears. "Wait, yesterday too?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "I can't say the exact time," she replied, "but she definitely left before 6 p.m. I didn't even realize I had stopped breathing." Emily had come home late, tired, claiming something urgent had come up at work. She had made it seem like she had no choice, like she was overwhelmed, like she barely had the energy to talk to me. But according to her coworker, she had left work hours earlier. I wanted to believe there was an innocent explanation, but it seems like I had just caught my wife in a lie. The problem was, I had no idea where she had been going, and that was a question I couldn't ignore any longer. At that moment, I made a decision that I was going to follow her. I needed to see it with my own eyes, no more second-guessing. I told myself that if I was wrong, then I'd at least have peace of mind. I left work early that day and parked near her office just before 4 p.m. I forced myself to stay calm. I watched the entrance, waiting. And then, right on time, she walked out. There was nothing that screamed exhaustion. I slouched down in my seat as I watched her walk to her car. Maybe she was heading home. Maybe I had it all wrong. But when she pulled out of the parking lot, she didn't take the usual route. I put my car into gear and followed at a distance, my mind racing with possibilities. Every turn she took led her further away from home, and every excuse I tried to come up with started to crumble. After about 20 minutes of driving, she pulled into an apartment complex. It was in a quieter part of town, tucked away behind a few buildings, the kind of place you'd only go if you had a reason to be there. I slowed down and parked across the street. I watched as she stepped out of her car. Then I saw him. A man was waiting outside, leaning casually against the doorway. The moment she saw him, her entire face lit up. The same woman who had been too drained to even hold a conversation with me the night before was now smiling, full of life, walking toward him like he was the only thing that mattered. She reached him, and without hesitation, he pulled her into a hug, one that lasted a little too long. And then, with no hesitation, she followed him inside. I sat there frozen. There was no more denying it. She was having an affair, and she had plenty of energy. Just not for me. For a long time, I just sat there, staring at the closed door. A part of me wanted to storm in and catch them red-handed. But what would that do? She would lie. She would twist it. She would cry and say it's not what it looks like. I would be the fool standing there, giving her a chance to manipulate the situation. So I waited. I watched the clock. 10 minutes. 20. 30. An hour passed, and she still hadn't come out. I realized that the life I thought I had, the marriage I thought we were still fighting for, had already been over. I was just the last one to know. I pulled out my phone and called her. It rang. No answer. I tried again. Straight to voicemail. A third time. Nothing. Without another second of hesitation, I put my car into drive and headed home. Without her. Later that night, I heard the front door open, followed by the familiar sound of Emily dropping her bag onto the floor. She walked in completely unaware of what I knew. She let out an exaggerated sigh, stretching her arms like she had just pulled a double shift at work. Work was crazy today, she said, kicking off her heels. I was stuck in back-to-back meetings, and my phone was buried in my bag. I saw your call, but by the time I got a chance to check, it was too late to call you back. I nodded, giving her the same neutral response I always did. It's fine. I didn't press. I didn't ask for details. I just let her lie to me, right to my face. And that was the moment I completely checked out. I had always been the husband who cared, the one who went out of his way to make things easier for her. If she had a stressful day, I'd run her a bath. If she was tired, I'd offer to cook dinner. If she was overwhelmed, I'd be the first to tell her to rest while I handled the chores. But that night, I let it all go. I stopped asking how her day went. I stopped making sure her favorite snacks were stocked in the pantry. I stopped offering to help around the house beyond what I needed for myself. For years, I had been the one holding everything together. But now, I let the weight shift entirely onto her. At first, she didn't notice. She was too caught up in her double life to realize I had stepped back. But after a few days, the change was too obvious to ignore. One evening, as I got up from the dinner table without a word, she watched me with narrowed eyes. "Is something wrong?" she finally asked. I didn't hesitate. I just met her gaze and said, "I'm just exhausted." That was the truth, wasn't it? I was exhausted from pretending, exhausted from playing the fool, exhausted from carrying a marriage she had already abandoned. She stared at me for a moment, trying to read between the lines. Maybe she expected me to say more, to open up like I always did. But I didn't. I just walked away, leaving her standing there. And the most telling part? She didn't stop. She didn't come clean. She didn't end the affair. She just kept lying, kept sneaking around, kept pretending she was exhausted. Except, somehow, she was never too tired for him. After reflecting on everything for a while, I decided I had to end things when I saw she was not repentant. One night, I waited until she was deep in sleep, and I took her phone. I went straight to her messaging apps, scrolling through her most recent conversations. And there it was, her lover's name, right at the top. The messages were sickening. The way she spoke to him, the way she flirted so freely, as if she wasn't married, as if she didn't have a husband waiting at home, clueless. I took screenshots of everything, sent them to myself, and deleted the evidence from her phone. She wouldn't even know I had seen it. I wanted her to continue believing she was in control. Next, I needed official confirmation of her lies. I called her office again, this time recording the conversation. I kept my voice calm and casual. Hey, just wanted to double check. What time does Emily usually leave work? She told me she's been working late a lot. The woman on the other end hesitated before answering. No, she usually leaves around 4. We don't really do late shifts here. That was all I needed. I saved the recording. Another piece of the puzzle is locked in place. With everything in my hands, her texts, the proof of her lies, the photos of her at her lover's place, I took the next step. I filed for divorce. So, I arranged for the papers to be delivered to her office. I knew the moment she received the papers. I didn't have to ask. My phone buzzed repeatedly, missed calls, frantic text messages from Emily. But I ignored them. When I walked through the door, she was waiting, hands clenched into fists, eyes burning with fury. "What the hell is this?" she screamed, waving the divorce papers at me as if she hadn't already signed her fate. I didn't flinch. I didn't raise my voice. I just looked at her, expressionless. "You tell me," I said, my voice calm and controlled. Her rage cracked for just a second, replaced by something that almost looked like fear. I let the silence hang in the air before responding. "I know everything." My voice was steady, emotionless. "The lies and the affair." She froze. Her lip quivered, her breath hitched, but I wasn't falling for the performance. She was only sorry because she got caught. "We can fix this," she pleaded, stepping toward me. I shook my head. A firm, unshakable no. I wasn't interested in fixing something she had already shattered. "I already handled it," I said, my tone final. "We're done." She let out a loud sob, her body crumbling, as if she had only just realized what she had lost. But that wasn't my problem anymore. She made her choices. Now, she had to live with them. The divorce was final, and after that, I walked away, without looking back. At first, I won't lie, it was weird. 8 years of my life had been tied to someone who turned out to be a stranger. I'd be lying if I said it didn't hurt. But here's the thing, the pain doesn't last forever. As for the man she threw everything away for, I have no idea how that worked out for her, and honestly, I don't care. Maybe he stuck around, maybe he didn't. Maybe she's still trying to convince herself it was all worth it. But that's not my problem. The only thing I know for sure is that her life no longer has anything to do with mine. She tried reaching out a couple of times, sending messages that started with "I just want to talk." But I never responded. Left her on read every time. What was there to talk about? She made her choice. She chose him. And I chose myself. Now let's talk about the real reason I shared this story, so you can learn from it. If you're going through something similar, or if you ever do, remember these lessons. First, if they say they're too exhausted for you, but energized for someone else, it's not exhaustion, it's rejection. I wasted months thinking Emily was just tired, stressed, and overwhelmed. I made excuses for her because I wanted to believe she was just going through a tough time. But the truth? She wasn't tired. She was tired of me. But she wasn't too exhausted for late-night texting, secret dates, and hotel meetups. If someone still finds the energy for someone else, but never for you, it's not burnout, it's a choice. Stop fooling yourself. Second, never confront a cheater in anger. Let them believe they've won, while you dismantle their world from behind the scenes. When I found out what Emily was doing, I didn't explode. I didn't scream, throw things, or demand answers. I played along. I let her keep lying to my face while I quietly gathered everything I needed to bury her in the divorce. That's how you win. People expect drama. They expect fights. When you don't give them that, you stay in control. Let them think they're getting away with it. Let them dig their own grave. Then, when they least expect it, drop the hammer. Third, walking away is power. But making them regret betraying you? That's victory. There's nothing more satisfying than moving on without giving them another second of your time. Trust me, nothing haunts a cheater more than realizing they traded loyalty for temporary excitement. And it wasn't worth it. Emily thought she was upgrading. But in the end, I erased her. And that's what broke her. So, to anyone watching who's dealing with a similar situation, don't waste your time trying to fix what's already broken. Don't waste your energy trying to understand someone who doesn't value you. And most importantly, don't waste your self-respect begging for love that should have been given freely. Walk away. Let them drown in their own mistakes. That's it for today's story. If this helped you, or if you know someone who needs to hear it, go ahead and like, comment, and share. You never know, this might be exactly what someone out there needs to see. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.